Hi, I'm Janet Fielding. I played Tegan in Doctor Who, the five-ish Fangirls. Have a good time.
The tangents that squeak continue all the way to episode 324 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. And if you thought the baby swap of Good Omens was hard to follow, try keeping track of the maid's underwear. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every from the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
For those of you who are wondering what in the heck that reference
We'll get to
is,
it.
once
We'll
we
get to it.
into it, you'll
Context.
really understand why we're
Context
all breaking
is-
up laughing here.
Yes, but that is actually a very fitting way to begin this podcast episode.
Yes.
Laughing.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. We're gonna have some fun. I'm sorry that Brittany is not able to be here. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your family comes first, and she had to
Yes.
travel. So it
Yep.
was Mother's Day yesterday. So
Yes,
happy
and
belated
then-
Mother's Day to all the moms out there, whether you're a
Yeah.
mom of humans or your kids have four legs or fins or whatever.
Mhm.
Or you're an auntie or
Yeah, and then
mother-
in my case,
mother figure.
a new aunt again.
Mhm.
My sister-in-law got a early Mother's Day present. Well,
wow.
early for Mother's Day, late for her due date.
Good boy.
She was waiting.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
nope, I'm not coming till I am good and ready.
Yes. Yeah. But apparently both of her children are like that. Have been like that. So at least she wasn't as overdue as she was with Big Brother. But yeah, we were all just kind of like, has this happened yet? Come on. I'm sure
Here
she
yet?
felt the
Is she
same
here
way.
Oh yes, I can pretty much guarantee, and having not met her.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You reach a certain point, and you're just like, okay, I'm done with this.
it's like get out.
Mhm.
So anyway, to all the moms out there, hope you had a good one. So let's do the news. Quite a bit of news that's related to Chrissy, actually. First up, Salt Lake Fan X doing what they do best, and just dropping a whole bunch of guest
Yep.
names at once.
Which is so
Mhm.
awesome because it just feels nice to have guest announcements. Just we've gone so long without really have. I mean, they kind of announced last year, but they were like, should we not? But yes, so now they got a plethora of announcements.
Mhm.
Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor, is coming to visit, and I'm like,
Woohoo!
Yahoo!
I got to set aside money for that one.
Mhm.
And then Ashley Eckstein,
Eckstein.
Eckstein.
voice of
Ahsoka
Ahsoka.
Tano.
Ahsoka Tano's
Oh.
coming. Adam Savage of MythBusters, Isha
Mhm.
Collins of Supernatural, and also I'm really excited for this one. It's a Boy Meets World reunion, minus Corey and Panga. But they got Ryder Strong, who played Sean, Will Friedle, who has been here to Salt Lake Fan X before, but he's coming back. Eric, and of course, William Daniels is gonna be there, and I'm just I'm psyched for this. I gotta make it to that panel, and I would love to meet William Daniels and the crew, because dude, Feeney, Mr. Feeney, I love Mr. Feeney. Mr. Feeney is just
One of
he's-
everybody's favorite school teachers.
yes, he the one the I remember his parting speech in the finale of the series. I swear I don't go a week without thinking about it, or at least hearing it in my head when he talks about do good. And,
Mhm.
and then Topanga's like, well, don't you mean do well? And he goes, no, do good. And it's like, come on, people. Mr. Feeney taught us that years and years ago. You need to remember it.
Mhm.
But yes, so very exciting. So Ninth Doctor and Star Wars and Boy Meets World and all the good things. And there's a lot of voice actors coming. So I'm excited, and it feels good to have these things. Like Jared texted me. He was at work. I guess he saw it before I did. He was like, Ninth Doctor's coming. And I'm like, what? So I ran to the because I knew they were doing announcements, but it's just kind of hard to get on their live stream at a decent time. And usually I'm juggling littles. And so I just, but our local news had a write up about it. So I was like, yee! Very exciting. So I'm sure there will be more announced as the event draws near, but it's just, like I said, it's just nice to see.
This is nice to have that to look forward to.
Yes. I mean, I was just kind of like, okay, what's it going to look like? Are we going to, be able to are they going to limit people? Are we, what's this going to be like? Are we going to have to space out? Is there going to be enough room for everyone? But it seems like they're going on. They're just, onwards and upwards. So I'm like, I'm for it.
Mhm. Yeah, those are some good guest announcements, and
Yes.
definitely set aside your pocket money to get an autograph from Christopher Eccleston, because
Oh yes.
he's doing conventions now, but he's not nearly as prolific as some of the other Doctor Who casts. So it's like when he shows up, if you want to add him to your collection, you do it.
Yes.
So
yes. So
he's not likely to pass your way again anytime soon.
Yes. So he is number one priority, and then the Boy Meets World crew. They're my next stop. So we'll see how it all shakes out.
Yeah. Should be a good time though.
It
sounds like a good time. So.
Oh yes. And then the next bit of news is another one I shared because I'm so excited for this one. So they announced, and it was kind of a surprise, but they announced that the 2 movies for Sailor Moon Eternal are going to be on Netflix. Now, a little background. So back in, I think it was 2014. I have to double check those dates, but I'm pretty sure it's 2014. They announced they were redoing, doing a reboot of the Sailor Moon anime, redubbing it in English and all these things. It was huge. And so we had Sailor Moon Crystal. We had 3 seasons of that, and that was on Hulu, and it covered the first 3 story arcs of the manga, which would correspond to the first 3 seasons of the original 90s anime, but it was more condensed. It followed the manga storyline a lot more closely, for better or worse. I tend to like it a little more, although I do wish they'd kind of given some more of the plot points to kind of grow, or have some space to develop. Because when you read a chapter of a manga or anything, it's very different than a show. And so they had to cram every chapter into an episode, and there's some things in there I'm like, I wish you would have just kind of let that breathe a little bit. So after the third season, they're coming up to what's called the Dream arc, which is you get Pegasus and the Dark Moon Circus, or the Dead Moon Circus, and a bunch of things. And the season so it'd be the 4th season of the original anime. That season is not my favorite in the anime. However, the version in the manga is my favorite of the manga, and I was looking forward to it for Crystal to do it, and it never announced it. And I was like, oh, don't tell me you're gonna stop with 3. Come on, you gotta redo this one because the anime butchered it so bad. And then they announced, we're gonna have 2 theatrical movies, so about 2.5 hours long of each, and that's gonna cover the whole arc. And then you start adding it up. It's like, okay, that's about as much time as they would give it in Crystal. So it was meant to come out in September of last year. Obviously, that did not happen in the theaters because theaters were mostly closed, pretty much. And then there's always the logistics around getting voice actors to come and dub it in different languages. So then all of a sudden we're like, hey, like Japan got it in their theaters earlier this year, I think in January, if I want to say. And then so we're just kind of waiting around like, okay, when's Viz gonna, because Viz is the one who does the English dub for North America. And then all of a sudden Netflix drops this little tidbit of, hey, guess what? Netflix has it now, and we're going to drop both movies on June 3rd, and it's going to be in all the languages. So whatever you speak and wherever you live, and you have Netflix, you're gonna have this. And I'm like, okay. So there's my very long-winded explanation as to why I'm excited for this. And it was kind of a surprise because before it was on Hulu, and it was Viz's Neon Alley is the thing. But now it's on Netflix. So yay and excitement. And so the trailer's out. Go watch it and bask in the prettiness, because holy cow, this looks gorgeous. As the new ones have all looked. I mean, they've all had kind of different styles, but slightly different styles. But it's all it's all the same source material. So I really hope this one that they've kind of figured out more how to adapt it a little better instead of just cramming it all in. But either way, it looks good. And I'm excited. So June 3rd, Netflix, wherever you are in the world, whatever language you speak, or if you if you speak one language but want to watch it in a different one, go for it. So yay! I'm super
So on June 3rd, when you hear a giant squeal coming from the general Salt Lake City area.
I won't be the only one. Well, no, I might be, because more people like the fifth story arc than I do, which I'm like, it's fine. I like the fourth one so much better, and this is the one I just like, come on. I want
the thing.
Give me the thing, grabby paws. I need the dream arc. Give it to me. Give it to me now. It's just like one of those things. It's like I watched the 90s anime, and like, because the English dub, that one, it ended with the fourth season, and it was so blah. It just didn't, there wasn't much to it. And then I finally read the manga, and I'm like, what the crap did you guys do? So much better in the book. I mean, everything else was pretty well, adapted pretty well, and then just this one, they just were like, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh,
like, it's a thing.
It's like, here, we're just gonna throw this together and blah. I'm like, oh, you. Anyway, so I'm excited.
Like, you don't even get an A for effort.
No, you don't even get it. I don't even think you tried at all.
You don't even get a participation award.
No, you get like the rust star that is like falling apart and busted and has like oil leaking out of the bottom of it.
Not Chrissy approved.
Not really, no. I mean, there are a few, even the episode, and I've like rewatched it recently, and even the few episodes in there that I remember liking, I rewatched them and I'm like, oh gosh, these are horrible. But anyway.
So,
anyway.
There you go.
There you go.
Cool. So, and then our last bit of news is, once again, the Marvel calendar has changed, but this time something has moved forward instead of being pushed back. So the god of mischief himself apparently is still playing with the timelines, even in this universe, because Loki will now be debuting 2 days earlier on June 9th and will be releasing on Wednesdays. So Wednesday is now the
Shoot.
new Friday for Disney Plus releases, at least as far as Loki is concerned. So
Which is going to be great because on Wednesdays I don't go to work until 4, so I might have some time in the morning to watch it. All you people who are watching Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision at like the wee hours of Friday morning and being like,
Mhm.
"Hey, I know what happens." I'm like, "Shush! I can't get to it till the evening."
Yep. So Loki wants you to come play with him on Wednesdays.
Mhm.
On Wednesdays, we wear green.
Yeah, exactly.
Pink is so 2004
Uh-huh.
or whenever that came out. Anyway,
So
On Wednesdays, we dress like bankers.
yeah.
By noon.
Yes, we do. There's a segue for you because that's
Mhm.
it for the news, and we don't have any feedback. So we will move on to this week's main topic, which I'm so glad we're finally getting to this.
I had zero idea what to expect because every time Jared tried to tell me about it, he's like, "You just gotta watch it." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this has been on my list of to cover on the podcast since we started. And if you remember from my first and almost only appearance on Cult Cinema Cavalcade several years ago, this is the movie that put me in podcast jail.
Oh my.
So we are finally talking about the 1991. So it just had its anniversary in the last couple weeks. Its 30th anniversary. The 1991 comedy starring Sylvester Stallone, Oscar.
And
Mhm.
this is one of those that I'm like, wow, Sylvester.
Those are words that
Stallone?
you don't put together. Sylvester Stallone in comedy.
No, because you
No.
think he's Rambo, he's Rocky, he's all these things.
Mhm.
He's an action star. His comedy is so good. I don't know if it's him or the
It's-
director, but he is just. There's like one scene that had me busting up where
Yeah,
I can't even remember what they said, but he like
Yeah.
his reaction is to look at the camera and just have this look like, "Are you?"
That's at the
serious?"
very
And I
beginning.
just-
Mhm.
No. This one was later. This
Oh,
one was like-
really? I was saying because
yeah.
he has that at the beginning before the
Yeah,
opening
there's-
credits when he's going to his dying father's
Yeah.
bedside, where he just looks at the screen, which is this look of
Yeah.
what have I done on his face before
Yeah.
the credits start.
I think this one that I'm referring to, it was one like one of his goons had misplaced the bag again, and
Yeah.
he's just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm done. And I'm like, yes, you are.
Yeah.
Or his look of
Or-
perturbed when one of his thugs is unloading.
Yeah,
the
when
arsenal
Connie
that
is
hidden.
unloading all of his gear.
Yeah. Like, are you done? No, lifts up and he's got the ankle holster.
Happens
and
with her bag. It's just like all types of guns, a whole lead pipe, a bottle of poison.
A
Okay, we need to
ticking
go. We need to go
bomb.
back here because
Yeah.
otherwise we're just going to be like in that one scene.
yeah.
Yes.
So yeah. So
Yes.
this is this was originally based on a French play called Oscar, and was actually in kind of production purgatory since the early 80s, so almost a decade, where it was actually going to have John Belushi in it before he died.
Wow.
Well, yeah.
And then it went on the shelf, and finally it came back and was finally actually put in production with Sylvester Stallone starring, and it is directed by John Landis, who, speaking of Belushi, did both of the Blues Brothers movies as a director. So among other things, he's done he he did Yeah, Animal House, Blues Brothers, American Werewolf in London. He helped direct Twilight Zone the movie.
Yeah, I mean,
So
like I saw the name and I'm like, I recognize this. I should know this name. Why do I know this name? And so yeah, that whole list of things, like, oh, that's why I should know that.
yeah,
And didn't he direct the Thriller music video?
yes,
Yes, he did.
yep, yeah. So not a incompetent director behind the camera.
Oh no, not by any
Um,
stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, just looking at the cast, I mean, it's a lot of character actors where you're like, I know that face. It's just one of, there's a lot of
Mhm.
people that's just all like, they just pop up, but they're not necessarily known for like a big thing like Sylvester Stallone, obviously, because even at this point, this is 91, he'd already done Rocky 5, I think, at this point. So before he did this, so he was an established star,
Mhm.
even by this point. You've got Marissa Tomei playing his daughter, the daughter he knows about, at least at the beginning, Lisa.
What about that boy who was here before? Didn't he want to marry our daughter?
Yeah, but not Lisa, the other one.
What other one?
The other one that's not Lisa.
We don't have a daughter that's not Lisa.
Sophia, you think I don't know that?
Yes.
So you've got Tim Curry, who's the whole reason I watched this movie in the first place. Going back to my best friend, who I've been friends with for years, when we were originally put together to do that project about the Russian czars. One of the things we bonded over was our mutual love for Tim Curry. She had asked me if I had seen this movie, and I'm like, no. And she's like, oh my goodness, I'll lend you her copy, which happened to be a copy that her dad or whoever had recorded off the TV at one time. He'd aired on
Oh.
TV. So then, and I think my dad ended up copying that copy. So my copy for the longest time was just a really crappy copy because it was a copy of somebody's TV recording. Because
Oh,
this is the late 90s. So
Yeah.
this is pre-internet and DVDs and all that. So
Yeah.
I own
probably
it
by
on
then
digital
the-
now. So
Yeah. Probably by
Yeah.
then the VHS had gone out of print.
yeah. But you've got Tim Curry as Dr. Poole.
After me. Rocco the rum runner rubbed out Rico the rat with his Roscoe for robbing his rum-running receipts. Can you say that?
Rocco the rum runner rubbed out Rico the rat with his Roscoe for robbing his rum running receipts. You did it!
A linguistics professor who's trying to teach Angelo Snaps Provolone, Sylvester Stallone's character, how to speak
Yes.
proper English, because he's got
Yes.
the very New York gangster
Yes.
Is it New York?
vernacular.
Now, does it take place in New York or Chicago?
I think they're in New York because they talk about Snaps going to Chicago.
Okay.
Okay.
A lot of stuff happened really fast, and I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah. But then you've got like Joey Travolta, John Travolta's
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. Peter Reigart, again,
Mhm.
great character actor.
Yep.
Chaz Palminteri.
Yep.
Eddie Bracken, who has been around he'd been around in pictures for a long time as a character actor.
Don
you got-
Amici.
yeah, his father Clemente. You've got Kurtwood Smith as Lieutenant Toomey, who's just an
Mhm.
idiot cop in this movie.
Yes.
So yeah. So the whole
William
premise.
Atherton.
Yeah, the whole premise of this movie is that Sylvester Stallone's character, Snaps Provolone, one of my favorite cheeses,
Yep. Same here.
is on his father, when his father was dying, who played by Kirk Douglas of all people, as his father was dying, makes Snaps swear that he's going to give up the gangster life and become an honest man, get an honest job.
He's gonna go straight.
He's gonna go straight.
And he slaps him a couple times to make sure that he gets the message.
I'm sorry, Papa. What can I do to make peace with you?
Oh, now you want to make a peace with you, Papa. You want me die happy.
Of course I do, Papa.
So now you want me die.
Oh, Papa, no!
And
Which
So you remember.
was not which when they were filming that. So Stallone said actually later, actually that year when Kirk Douglas was being honored with an AFI Lifetime Achievement Award, he talks about filming that scene, and he told Kirk Douglas, when you go to slap me, just slap me.
Don't hold back.
don't pull your punches or anything. Just let me have it. You're gonna slap me. And Douglas did. He proceeded to beat the crap out of Stallone, which is saying something. And Stallone said, "I learned the hard way. Never spar with Spartacus." So yeah,
my gosh.
like you ask Kirk Douglas to beat you, he gonna beat you.
Yeah.
He is Spartacus. So he promises his father he's gonna go straight, and then fast forward like 3 months or something like that.
I think it was 1 month.
Or 3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
It's been a few weeks, and Snaps has not been doing his usual thing. So you've got Lieutenant Toomey, who's convinced that he's just been laying low because he's planning something, even though some of the other guys working the surveillance across the street are like, maybe he's gone straight, and Toomey is just like, nah, never. And then you've got the O'Banion gang. that people think Snaps is teaming up with, but it's actually was it Vendetti? It's Vendetti that thinks that Vendetti thinks that Snaps is teaming up with the O'Banion gang, and thinks that it's been too quiet as well. So you've got these two different groups. You got a group of rival gangsters that think Snaps is up to something. You got the cops who think Snaps is up to something. Meanwhile, Snaps is legitimately trying to go straight. He's getting a fancy new suit thanks to the Finucci's. Finucci's.
He's gonna go.
Finucci's in, Finucci's out.
Yes, he's getting elocution lessons from Dr. Poole. They're donating to the church, to Father Clemente for the church, for the building fund, and all of these things. But the day that the bankers, because he's trying to become a banker, because this is 1931, so it's still the fallout from the Great Depression.
Prohibition is definitely a thing.
Prohibition is definitely a thing. World War II is coming eventually.
Give it 10 years, but the Great Depression. This is that's where we are. The 1930s gangsters and rum runners, bootleggers.
Yeah. Which is part of which is part of where Snaps made his money was
this is
bootlegging beer, protection rackets, that sort of thing. But he's offering to give a bunch of his money to this bank to help inject the bank with some money in exchange for a seat on their board.
Yes.
And the bankers are like, oh, do we have to take his money? And then they were like, because all these bankers are just like hoity-toity.
Yeah, and he mentions that he came from the slums and he worked his way up through crime, obviously.
Yeah.
But they have to take his money because
they need the cash.
The banks are the banks in 1931. No bueno.
Yeah.
So
the banks are hard up.
Yeah.
So
if you're a banker in 1931, you take your money where you can get it.
Exactly. No questions asked.
Yeah. So this is like the day that the bankers are going to come, and Snaps is going to give his money and, presumably sign a contract of employment or something, officially take the job at the bank as a banker. And this being essentially a screwball comedy, just anything and everything that can go wrong happens. There's people constantly coming in and out of the house, and there's cases of mistaken identity, and goodness, this movie, I love this movie. It is so bad. It's just one of those. It is so bad, and you either love it or you hate it. Hence me getting thrown in podcasting jail.
Okay, I feel like you need some elaboration on the podcasting jail.
Yes.
So back in 2018 is when we finally got around to getting me onto Cult Cinema Cavalcade, and they asked me what movie I wanted to do because I'm not a huge fan of like horror movies, which is a lot of what they did. Really crappy B, C, D, go through the alphabet in the basement,
the
bargain
ones
basement
that
movies.
Starting out actors do to pay the bills.
Yes, exactly. So I'm not huge into those movies, but I know I wanted to do something where potentially they would either love it or hate it. So this is what I decided to do. And you can go listen to that episode. It's still out there in the feeds, even though the podcast has since, ended. But after I did this episode, pretty much I was never invited back. Until close to the end of the run of the show for an off episode where we talked about survival, the last episode of Doctor Who in the classic era. But essentially they told me that I was in podcasting jail because but as far as Brandon and Cullen were concerned, this movie was absolute garbage. And they hated my guts for making them watch it. So there is no in between with this movie. You either love it or you hate it. At least as far as what I have heard from people.
Oh my goodness.
The people I know who've seen it and love it, they love it.
And I mentioned before, because when you said, we're gonna watch Oscar, and Jared was in the room, and I was like, wait, Jared, is that because okay, you got to know something about Jared. He is very picky about comedies. Like there's just some humor he just does not love. He hates like cringe comedy, gross out comedy, anything like that. And even like some comedies I've showed him, like Adventures in Babysitting. He was like, "Oh, I know you like this, but it's not my thing." So when he told me that this was the only movie that he, his two brothers, his dad, and his grandpa all agreed on, I'm like, okay, there's something about this movie because I know you you are just really weird about comedies and all. Well, I never met his grandfather, but because he passed away before we started dating. But of everyone else in that group, I'm like, you guys have such different tastes in movies, especially comedies. So I'm like, okay, I need to see this. And so we said we were gonna talk about this movie on the podcast. I'm like, Jared, we need to watch this. So he's like, okay. So we got it. I watched it, and I'm like, I'm still a little shocked that this is one he likes, because there's a lot of stuff in here that I'm like, usually I'd say that he wouldn't like it, but he's like, no, it's all in the timing and the delivery. And I'm like, okay, I can see that. But yeah, I just, I mean, this was my first time ever seeing it. I didn't even know it existed until Jared told me about it, and why he liked it. But it's just like, it's just so, just like it's not like, how do I explain? You're just laughing the whole time, but it's not like, they're trying too hard to make the jokes, or they're trying to get the laughs, or they're forcing it or anything. All of it is just very, very natural, very, the timing is just right. And I mean, you'd never think Sylvester Stallone is a comedic actor, but gosh, he's got it down in this. I mean, it could come down to direction or whatever, but
It's better than Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, and I happen to like Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Yeah.
I think it helps that Stallone kind of plays the straight man
Yes.
in
Yeah.
a good chunk of this, and it's the other
Mhm.
people who are people who have comedic talents like Tim Curry
Yeah.
and some of these character actors that help balance it out, I think.
Yeah, and like you could definitely tell that it was originally written as a play, and I almost want to like see it as a play. I don't know if there are any theater companies who are still doing this as a play, but gosh, that was so much fun to watch, and just kind of see how it's blocked out and how they do things. But yeah, it's just it hits all the right beats, and I was a little surprised to see that it didn't do so well in the box office when it first came out, because it's a good one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm glad to hear that.
And casting Marissa Tomei as his daughter was perfect. Just that scene with the two of them having that face off. It's like, oh yeah, they're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of and there's a lot of this really quick, beat. Like it kind of reminds me of, well, the one that I can think of that most people know is Who's on First. It's like you get that banter going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and they just do it so well.
It's
and
the delivery.
The delivery, and it's like you're watching a tennis match, and you're like, okay, but wait, now where's the bag going, and this and that, but you're enjoying it. You're enjoying like how where's everything going to end up, but in the end, you kind of don't care because you just had such a good time watching it.
Yes. I mean, they even at one point where they're trying to, after the bags have been switched around for like the bazillionth time, and Snaps has ended up with the ex-maid because the maid quits because she's going to marry Bruce Underwood, who Snaps originally wanted Lisa to marry. But then he and the maid met when he came to call on Lisa, and apparently it was love at first sight. So
well, good for her.
Yeah. But yeah, after he ends up dumping a whole bag of Nora's underwear under things on the desk in front of Dr. Poole. And Connie, and he's trying to figure out how it happened, and Connie, who is one of Snap's goons, he has that moment kind of like on Who's on First, where he's kind of like he gets it, where it seems like he gets it, where he's like, you take the ball and you throw it to, you throw it to who and all of that. And Connie has that same moment where he's like, I got it. Your daughter's not your daughter, and the cash that used to be the jewels is now your underwear.
Are you sure there was cash in that bag?
Yeah, little Anthony stole it.
If little Anthony stole it, then he's got it.
No, you blockhead, he stole it, then he gave it back to me.
Why'd he give it back to you?
To buy back the jewels.
What jewels?
The jewels he stole from me.
He stole jewels from you too?
Yeah, so he could marry my daughter.
Lisa.
Not Lisa, Teresa.
How come nobody's never met this daughter, Teresa?
Because she's not my daughter, capiche?
Yeah. Your daughter's not your daughter. And the cash that used to be the jewels is now your underwear.
Now you got it.
I got it. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
He's like, yes, that's it. And he's like, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
But it makes perfect sense.
Yes. It's like, but you got it.
And meanwhile, Dr. Poole is like, picking up the underwear and saying, ooh, look at this money.
Here's money. And here's more money. And, oh, look, here's a brand new crisp for $20.
Yes.
I love Tim Curry. I really do.
Oh, this
Oh.
one's just, he was so good in this.
Yes, he
Oh, and
was.
yes, and the gal who plays Sylvester Stallone's wife, if she looks and or sounds familiar, she played Princess Aurora or Aura in Flash Gordon.
Mhm.
Ah.
But she doesn't get a lot of screen time.
No, she doesn't, but
But she makes the most of what she does get.
When she
Yes.
makes for someone who doesn't have a lot of screen time, dang, she has a lot of costume changes.
that too.
Yes.
Like
yes.
she comes home from I think it's on Saturday, so she comes home from Saturday morning mass in like this green and orange like tweed outfit, with the hat and everything, and she's ticked off because the driver
Yeah.
dropped her off at mass and stayed outside the church with the engine running. Like it's gonna be a getaway.
And
Yeah.
why'd you have to fire Oscar? He was such a great chauffeur.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reasons, my dear, reasons.
Yeah. But then she like puts on this like blue like halter neck satiny thing when she gets home from church. And then she's like, I'm gonna dress for lunch, and I'm like, what are you gonna dress in for lunch? Why are you wearing this and it's not even lunchtime? So yeah, she does. I don't know if that was just to show off just how rich they are, that she can wear 12 outfits in a single day, or
Yeah, that I think it's wealthy people of that time, and even before, it's like they dressed several times a day depending on what activities were going on and what meals. So I mean, given that this family is that Snaps came from nothing and built his fortune and everything, it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to show off just how successful and wealthy we are, because I was poor, and so like his daughter has everything she could want, or so he thinks.
yeah,
You can do whatever you want, just don't
except
leave
her
this room.
freedom. Yes,
Well, yes, but she but it's
she's an only
so,
child.
yeah,
And she's obviously been spoiled, I think, more by her mother than
yeah.
seemingly her father. Her and Snaps have a tumultuous relationship.
You're not going to any convent. You're gonna marry this bum just as soon as I get my hands on him.
Oh, Daddy, you changed your mind.
Choice have I got, you tramp? And after the wedding, you'll move into a nice ground floor apartment.
Why a ground floor apartment?
Because after I break his legs, he's not gonna make it up any steps.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Like Bing Crosby and Cab
Calloway?
Don't think I haven't heard the lyrics to many of the moochers.
Yeah.
Getting a little too close to home there.
Yeah, which Minnie the Moocher. I mean, the lyrics to Minnie the Moocher. Yeah, it is kind of appropriate when you think about it. It's also a nice nod to the Blues Brothers movie.
Yes, exactly.
So-
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I don't even know how to explain this movie, just because you have to watch it and be paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah, well, it starts with his accountant Anthony showing up at 8:30, waking him up before he's supposed to be, and he's like, "It's a matter of life and death." And Anthony says, "Well," tells him, he asks him for a raise.
Mm-hmm.
He explains, "Well, I met a girl I want to marry, and I told her I make $1,400 a month, which is a huge amount of money in that time." And
back then, yeah.
back then, it was,
Decent amount of money now.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are and where you live.
this is true. And he's like, and right now he's making $400 a month working for Snaps as his accountant. And and it's just this back and forth of where Snaps finds out that Anthony has skimmed off $50,000 because of from him because of a clerical error, and and by the way, the girl he wants to marry, yeah, it's his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or so everyone has been led to believe.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So he goes up, to Lisa, and Lisa's like, yeah, what, and it's like, you don't really notice it at first because they're kind of talking past each other. But it turns out, and Lisa is talking to the maid and saying, oh, I want to get out, I want to leave. And she's like, the maid's like, well, pretend you're pregnant. And then and then they'll have to, your dad will have to let you get married.
She's like, I do that, I'm going to be murdered. She's like, either way, you're going to be out of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this other gal shows up, very, prim, proper, buttoned up kind of gal, and tells Snaps, like, yeah, I met Anthony. He's and I told him that I was your daughter because I wanted him to think I was from a wealthy family because I knew he worked for you. And so Lisa's never met Anthony. She's talking about Oscar, the old chauffeur. And so it's just all this chaos going on, and then the Finucci show up to fit Snaps with his new banker suit, and so he's like walking around, with the tailoring half done because he gets all these interruptions, and he has to go in and yell at people to get stuff done or get things figured
like
out.
the maid quits, and he first he makes Anthony think that Teresa is pregnant when he is actually Lisa, but Anthony doesn't know that, and his wife comes home and finds out that the maid quit, and she's like, when did that happen? He's like, sometime between my shirt and my pants.
Not for the father.
And then there's a black bag involved because Anthony brings out the jewels that he cashed in
50 G's,
50 G's worth of jewels, and the cops across the way are watching, and they're like, oh, here he comes here's this guy, he's gonna drop it for a drop off, because Anthony keeps coming in and out with the bag, without the bag. And it's
they're
like,
all the same style bag.
Yeah, so there's this bag, then there's the bag that the maid has packed her underwear in because she's leaving.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, was this the only bag available in 1931? Did everybody owned one of these? And then another bag is introduced later with cash, $50,000 in cash, because Anthony ends up with another $50,000.
This time he actually stole.
Yes.
So it just keeps mounting the craziness, and of course the police, the detective is just thinking, oh yeah, there's something going on. It's another drop, and because now the maid's leaving with the black bag, and then
the Underwood chauffeur shows up with a bag, and because they don't
And
realize
Is it
that
just
Nora's already come and switched the bags. So.
Yeah.
And is it just me, or did the maid look like she stole some of that money? Because I don't remember her walking out with the fur coat the first time.
Quite possible.
No, I think she just went and bought that for herself.
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
it
Because
was
when
like,
she first goes to leave, and they're like, "Where to?" and she's like, "Regency Gardens," which I'm guessing is probably like a shopping place or something or other. So she comes back in the fur coat because she just wants to show off that it's like, look, I'm no longer the help. I'll have my own help.
although she's still wearing the maid cap, so it kind of ruins the effect. But never mind.
Yeah, maybe Bruce Underwood's into that. Maybe still, I don't know.
Oh, possibly.
Maybe that's partially why he's marrying her.
Yes, it's like, oh, you're marrying the maid. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's like we could sit here and explain the plot, but it's more that you kind of just have to watch it.
You have to watch it play
Yeah.
out, because it really is what makes it so funny, is like what you were saying, Chrissy, is it's not so much the plot, because the plot when you just look at it, it seems pretty like contrived, and
Yeah.
there's not really a whole lot of action that happens in this movie. It's a lot of people talking to each other and people going in and out of rooms and the bags being swapped around, but it's really about the execution.
Yes. Which is why I looked, when I watched it and I was like, it says, based on the screenplay, and it had the name, and I was like, oh, I didn't know this was a play. And Jared was like, I didn't either. And I'm like, you've seen this before. You said it's one of your favorites. He's like, yeah, I just didn't see that part. Like, okay. But yeah, so very much think of it as it was a play first, and if you've seen comedies like this or know of them, and like I said, it's very reminiscent of the stand-up acts of Who's on First, just as lengthened out into a movie and a bigger story. And so I mean, it's funny and fast paced, but there's also some slower moments, like when Dr. Poole and Lisa are in the garden and they're kind of flirting with each other, and it's very sweet and very, they are falling for each other, and it's just it's just kind of a good.
That was a huge risk that Lil Anthony took, and he's really lucky it worked out in his favor.
Yes.
Yes.
That was a gamble.
Yes.
Quite. Just every time one of these characters has an idea, you just are kind of like, oh no, what's gonna happen next?
This could end one of two ways.
Yeah. And part of it's like, oh, I hope. And honestly, in the end, I really had no idea if this would work out for everybody. But I kind of suspected that. I was like, oh, come on, you've got a bag full of underwear. You gotta go with that, with the obvious joke. When the police show up and they're all like, and we caught you. Look, got the bag. We've got the money. No, you don't.
Yep.
You think you get the money.
Yeah. It's kind of, I think because I'm not really that well versed when it comes to plays, musicals are more my thing, but it's kind of, I think, maybe along the lines of The Importance of Being Earnest, if you know that story, where it's mistaken identity and just a lot of things happening back and forth, but then when it all resolves at the end, it all works out in a way that you may not have expected, but in a way that works out for like pretty much everybody involved. So, except for Oscar. That's the funny thing, is the movie is called Oscar. He gets name dropped, but we never see him till the very end, and by then it's a moot point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
take care of him expediently, or however.
Yes, expeditiously.
Yeah, I mean, as with any good comedy, it must end with a wedding. And so yeah, they're getting, Lisa and Dr. Poole and Anthony and Teresa are all getting married in a double wedding, and Oscar shows up. He's like, I object. And then Snap says, take care of him expeditiously, and they just kind of cart him out.
Up in the air.
Up in the air. He has no idea why.
Yep.
It's like, you started all this in a way. This is all your fault.
Yeah. The whole thing is just... Yeah, it's definitely not something you can really explain. You really just kind of have to see it.
Yeah, you have. I mean, yeah, like you said, there is a plot. It's not a very complex. Well, it is a complex plot, but when you just see what the plot is, you're just kind of like, okay, yeah. But yeah, it is all in the delivery and the execution of it, and you watch this to watch how they do it. And to have a good time. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like rolling on the floor, side splitting comedy. It's I don't want to say it's sophisticated because it's not really that sophisticated, but it is just kind of
It's
the execution
yeah,
makes it or
it's
breaks it.
I mean, there's different flavors of comedy. I mean, you have, the gross out comedy that we have in movies a lot of the time. There's, Shakespearean comedies, but then there's, this kind of comedy, which is like, I guess they call it a farce. And it's more of like showing off how well, these comedic actors can do these things, because, you think, oh, people like tell jokes, or, they think they're funny, or they feel like they have really good timing, and maybe they do. I mean, people, but people really work hard to get this kind of thing down to an art, and it takes practice, it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of, trust in the people you're playing off of. So it's just, so, when we say, like, it's a surprise that Sylvester Stallone is in a comedy like this, and you're right, Rachel, he's very much the straight man in this, but it also, I mean, he gets some funny moments of his own, and he stands, he stands as an equal to these well-known comedic actors and character actors as well. So it's just, I mean, it's not just, oh, we slap a joke on there and a laugh track and we tell you to laugh. It's, no, they earn those laughs, they earn those jokes, and it is very well done.
Yeah. So, there's not a whole lot, like, as far as like trivia and behind the scenes stuff with this movie, just because it did not do that well, unfortunately.
I guess it's a matter of, if it clicks with, if it's a kind of comedy that clicks with you, then it clicks, and if it's not, what can you do?
Yeah, it is. Let's see. It was released theatrically in the US April 26, 1991. It had 9 international releases from June until September of that year. It was released on VHS September of 1991, followed by a Laserdisc edition in November. Then DVD in 2003, and later Blu-ray in 2018. I'm gonna have to get out of Blu-ray.
Yeah, we were looking it up on Amazon last night. Like, why don't we own this? We need to own it.
Yeah. It's I don't hold much water to like review sites and stuff. It holds a 12% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
I say.
That's only based on 17 reviews. Apparently, not enough people have seen it to be worth worth.
No, wait, is that the user reviews or the critic reviews?
It just says 12% approval based on 17 reviews.
Oh, okay. Well, people get on Rotten Tomatoes and review it and leave favorable reviews.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of consider it a cult classic almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one that is kind of, with time, has
maybe
developed a following.
Maybe it's more like one you have to watch more than once, because, I mean, there were some moments that I was just, when Lisa says, oh, it wasn't Oscar that I was in love with, or it wasn't Anthony I was in love with, it was Oscar. I was like, wait a minute, but you just said to your dad. So it's like, oh, and then you go back and rewatch and be like, oh, okay, now I caught the subtle little thing. So it's like there is some rewatchability there, and I guess back, when you go see it in the theater, I don't know. It kind of seems like having to going back to watch it in the theater is kind of more of a more modern thing that people have done. Like, they don't really go back to the theater to watch it, or they didn't that back then. I don't know. there wasn't a lot of repeats. Oh, it was so good, I want to go watch it again. Or I feel like I missed things, so I got to go experience it again. If that makes sense. Yeah. So maybe people just didn't do it that much. I mean, I was 6, so I didn't go to the movies unless my parents took me. Even if I wanted to see a movie again, they'd be like, "We already saw that one. Let's go see a new one."
Yeah, it's at the time when it was released, it got mixed reviews from critics, which, again, I don't really care what critics have to say. Although Siskel and Ebert gave it 2 thumbs up.
Well, good job. Yeah. Good job with Siskel.
Siskel and Ebert, yeah.
Yeah. So it was nominated for 3 Razzie Awards.
Oh.
Stallone got nominated for Worst Actor. John Landis got nominated for Worst Director, and Marissa Tomei got Worst Supporting Actress.
Oh, that's not that bad. I mean,
no.
Well, they didn't win. So
okay, but I'm just saying,
good.
I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe it's not to everyone's taste, but worse, like, really, even the nomination? Come on, people.
Yeah. So considering the worst actor that did win is a movie that's on our list to do this year. Kevin Costner and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
probably. Well, we'll talk about that
when we get to it. Yeah.
When we get to it. So
I officially do not understand the Razzies just as much as I do not understand the Oscars.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what is your deal? Anyway,
it's a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah. So, John Landis actually in 2017 said in a interview with filmtalk.org, he said, I made a movie once, Oscar, with Sylvester Stallone, and everybody who saw the movie and liked it would never go out and see Stallone. We did a preview of the movie and someone wrote on the card, why didn't he take his shirt off and kill anybody?
And maybe that's why people didn't like it, because they were expecting him to go in and be Rambo.
Yeah. Like that, it's like just looking at like the movie poster.
Yeah, the movie
doesn't scream like Stallone action film. I mean, I honestly think that the movie poster is kind of misleading. Yeah, because it has kind of that Buster Keaton look to it, and there's not really any kind of that physical comedy in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, because I got it from the library, and I'm looking at the cover, and I'm like, okay, this doesn't, like, there's a clock involved somehow. Okay, it's like, the cover doesn't really tell me anything about the movie, and I was kind of expecting him to be dangling off a clock at some point, and he never was.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's on the marketing department. It's like, you could have done so much better, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a bit of a fail there, because they're like, oh, 1930s, what kind of movies were big in the 1930s? Oh yeah, like the Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton and type movies, and I'm like, but that's not this movie. I mean, there's not physical comedy in this, not really.
No. Unless you count dumping a bag of women's underwear on the table, physical comedy. While Tim Curry says, "Ooh, a crisp $20 bill or $100."
I just love the way I just love how straight faced he delivers that line.
It's like he's trying to make Snaps feel better about this latest debacle.
This is the second time you've dumped this bag of underwear in my face, so let's just play along with it. And by that point, he and Lisa, have bonded. Yes. So after he gets dismissed again, he's like, "Let's get out of here. This place is nuts." Let's get away from my crazy mother and your crazy father.
Yeah.
And she's like,
And she's
absolutely.
like, sign me up.
Yeah. So yeah, there's but yeah, just yeah. So some of the funny bits are, you know, something funny happening to someone, and you know, someone else having to react to it
Mm-hmm.
and not laugh. You know, we're laughing as the audience, but like, you know, like Tim Curry in that scene where he needs to play it straight.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were in his place, I would just be like, I can't do it. It's
Yep.
too funny.
Which is why I want to see this performed live as a play.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when you see it, you know, live on stage, and you're losing it completely, and the actors are still so straight faced because they are professionals and they know what they're doing, it makes it even more fun. Because you're like, I am losing this. Why are you not? You know, the fact that you're just taking it so seriously and you're pulling it off makes it even more funny.
Yeah. Although sometimes it's kind of fun to see them crack a little. Like you see that every so often on Saturday Night Live, where, you know, someone will slightly lose it in a skit. So. Or Tim Conway would do that on the Carol Burnett show all the time, where he would just go off script just to make them break character in a skit. So yeah, it would be kind of fun to see. I really would kind of like to see this in person on stage with, you know, a cast that really knows, you know, can really do that really sharp dialogue, but maybe have some room for some improvisation.
Mm-hmm.
Just to
this would really lend itself
to play with it.
to
Yeah. But until then, we just have our copies of this movie and watch over and over. Even Chauncey was like, "Are you watching Oscar again?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yes.
And you're like, "Well, doesn't he watch the Andy Griffith Show a lot?"
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, well, see, there you
is
go.
my equivalent of the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah. So Chauncey, you can deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So
we love you, Chauncey.
Yeah. One piece of trivia I did uncover, that I actually did not know, is, like I said, this movie had been kind of in production purgatory, but even once they got the movie that we finally got in going, they actually had to production had to stop for several weeks, smack dab in the middle of everything, because a fire broke out on the lot. And
wow.
Yeah, it destroyed several of the sets. Many of the actors' trailers, including Tim Curry's.
Holy crap.
All of the costumes.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And 21 of the vintage cars.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
no.
they had to halt production to replace everything, remake all of the costumes.
Well, I guess that could in part explain Miss Provolone's wardrobe changes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's just horrible. I'm
like, we don't have that. It's like they like what. Like, well, we got to film a scene. It's just like, but she was supposed to be wearing a different outfit that got destroyed. Well, she's like, I'm gonna go change for lunch. There you go.
Yeah. Yep.
That will explain why she's wearing something different later.
And they had so few sets to begin with, because pretty much the entire
it takes
movie
place in the house.
In their house, and then like in the garden, and that's it. I mean, other than when the father dies,
rooms in the house.
Well, yeah.
But yeah.
But they come back to the library. They're in the front room, the front foyer all the time.
Yeah.
They're in his office. They're in Lisa's room.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have several sets, but a lot of movies they have several different places where they go, but most of it is
Which again, because this comes from a play,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
The set would probably be pretty much the house with several of the rooms, more than likely.
Yeah.
Be my
So,
guess. So, but yeah, I read that and I'm like, I did not know that. And apparently the fire was not an accident.
Uh-oh.
It was a security guard who had been hired to actually guard the cars, set the fire on purpose.
Oh.
I don't know why. There's no explanation why, but no, he admitted to setting the fire.
Uh-oh. I don't think he was guarding the cars anymore after
Yeah,
that.
no, I don't think he was guarding much of anything after that.
Nope.
They
So,
lorded.
yeah, so it was a good thing that nobody was hurt.
Oh,
Because
seriously.
he said it at night after they had already wrapped for the day, so I guess nobody was there except for him.
Like,
yeah.
here, what is this like?
You're not supposed to be imitating the movie.
Yeah.
Adding scenes here.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it got finished because
Yeah, at least costumes and stuff, those can be remade.
Yeah.
But, like people's trailers were destroyed. Imagine if they were in their trailer at the time. It's like, ugh, yeah, I don't want to think about it.
No, not at all.
Bad juju.
Don't play with matches, kids.
No,
or lighters or any of that stuff.
Yes. Not cool, people. Not cool. Don't play with fire. It's bad. Bags of underwear, on the other hand.
Yeah.
Yes. That is totally fine. Oh, and it just kind of makes me wonder. I'm like, did she just have underwear? She didn't have any like clothes, or is Bruce just gonna buy her more clothes?
I'm guessing Bruce was just gonna buy her some more things. Again, I think the fact that all she had was the bag of underwear, and the fact that she was still wearing the maid outfit.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Bruce probably enjoyed the maid outfit.
I am sure. I am quite sure.
I don't want to think about that. So
yeah. Anyway, we will leave that to.
I just yeah. How did Nora? The explanation to why she brings that bag back is she tells Aldo that she realized it wasn't hers when she tried to open it, presumably that she couldn't get it open because I don't know,
it was
the
locked.
latch is different or something. I don't know.
I thought like, well, maybe it's a combination, or she doesn't have the key or whatever. But then Snaps keeps opening the bags just fine. So
yeah, exactly. So, but maybe I don't know. She realized that the lock was different than hers. I don't know. But seriously, you've got $50,000 worth of precious gemstones, diamonds, emeralds, rubies in that bag. That presumably weighs a decent amount. Yes. $50,000 cash is going to weigh a decent amount. Nora's underwear, from what we've seen, is just like, silky slips and that sort of thing. Probably doesn't weigh a whole lot. Wouldn't you notice the weight difference in the bag?
But then you wouldn't have this hilarious movie.
I know, it's because of plot, because movie, but still.
So the plots could happen, to quote Pitch Meeting.
Yes. But it's just one of those things where it's just like, I realized it wasn't mine when I couldn't open it. I'm like, well, if you had opened it and saw what was in there, you would not have been coming back to the house.
I know. Like, I totally expected her to just, take.
I get a new husband. I don't have to wait on people anymore. And I got a bag full of money.
I'm not coming back. Sorry.
Bye.
I need keepers.
Really, the question is, did Lil Anthony give Teresa the money after they got married?
Good question.
They sure loved each other, so I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Considering what he told Snaps to begin with.
Like,
Yeah.
started all this.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to get another choking scene, I think, at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Probably. Oh man.
Better hope that all the worst he does is try to choke him, considering by the end they're back in business. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, now he's
Yeah.
Anthony's the chief financial officer, so he's an even bigger deal than he was before.
yeah.
Because when the bankers came and tried to, you know, give Snaps the runaround, he's like,
Yeah.
no. Like, I actually have a guy to read the contract, so
Yeah.
I know when you're trying to screw me over.
Mhm.
Anyway.
And Snaps' wife seemed pretty okay with finding out that Snaps had another daughter.
Yeah. By
Well,
by
not
then,
at first.
First,
by-
Like,
yeah.
you had a child with the new maid.
Which again is that whole, mistake, mistaken identity and failure of communication, and nobody knows what the heck's going on.
It's I mean it's kind of a funny twist ending though when because it's like this could have ended just like badly for a lot of people, but at the end of the day it turns out that Teresa actually is Snap's daughter, so she technically wasn't lying in the first place.
Nope.
She just didn't know.
Yep.
But the way they get to it though is just
Yeah.
the whole thing is just it's crazy. I love this movie.
Yeah.
That's all I really can say about it, is I just love this
Finally.
movie. So
The lights come on. They get it.
yes. And obviously Holly was already converted
Oh, I was.
going
Yeah,
into this. So
Mhm. Well, I didn't even see Oscar on our list because if I would have noticed it sooner, we would have been talking about this a whole lot sooner.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, Jared had told me about it, just like we were talking about his family and movies and things, and how their tastes are so different, and how this is the only one that they could all agree on. And so I just, the fact that it's this one is still kind of baffling to me. Just knowing all these guys, well, other than his grandpa, but it's just like, okay, that's my in-laws then. That's what we
Well,
need to. That's what you need to know about them, I guess.
And
I mean, I
kind of
enjoyed it.
It's a screwball comedy, but it actually works.
Yeah.
It seems so preposterous, but then how everything all fits, it's just like, okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Little suspension of disbelief, but everything just kind of clicks and ties together. But I mean, it's really interesting. I didn't know that John Belushi was actually going to play Snaps. I mean, that would have been
I think
Very
that would have been
different.
a really different movie.
Yeah.
it would have.
Yeah.
Well, and the
It
fact,
probably would have ended up being more physical, would be my guess.
yeah.
and more slapstick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that it's Sylvester Stallone is because he's got that action guy, macho sort of thing. So yeah, you believe him as a gang, this tough guy gangster,
Head of a
the
mob. Yeah.
head of the mob, 1930s. But in his very first scene, he's getting slapped around by his dying father,
Yeah.
and so that kind of sets the tone of, okay, this is not your typical Stallone flick. He's definitely trying something different. I mean, the only other thing I could really think to compare it to would be like, Schwarzenegger doing Kindergarten Cop, or one of those kind of comedy movies. But then again, Schwarzenegger did a lot more of them, so it
Jingle all the way.
Yeah, jingle all the way. Put that cookie down.
Yes.
But so maybe we were a little more accepting of that, whereas Stallone, I mean, I think he probably tried to do a few more comedies, but this one is probably the one that is the most well known. I gathered from just kind of my reading and a little bit of research that I did. So
because Stallone came right out and said it in an interview that one of the films that he regrets doing was Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. So, and that came out the year after Oscar. So
okay. Well, I'm glad he doesn't regret this one because this one was a ton of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the director doesn't seem to regret it either, so
no.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and
anyway,
it seems like Chrissy enjoyed it, so I'm not
Well-
getting thrown back in podcast jail for
No,
suggesting
no,
it.
you are not. No, you are not. You had the fact that you had Jared on your side was a big help.
Yes.
I don't
Thank
know.
you, Jared.
I don't know if I would. I honestly do not know what I would have thought if Jared hadn't talked this one up so much to me and like saying, "Oh, I want you to see this," because honestly, some of the movies that I've seen that are his favorites, that I'm just like, I don't know that I would have watched this otherwise, but I'm glad I did because
I can totally get that. There's a lot of Chauncey's taste in comedy is quite different than mine, so I could totally understand that. So, but yeah, it's just the fact that we were like, yeah, we're gonna do this, and you're like, oh, Jared loves that movie, and I'm like, what?
Yes, disposable.
yes, exactly.
And like I
It's
said,
a sign.
he never really told me what it was about because he just said you have to watch it. All I really knew is Sylvester Stallone plays a gangster who's trying to go straight, and weird stuff happens. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, and that's
because
all
you can't explain it. You really cannot explain it. You just
have
kind
to
of have
sit
to
and
watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. If people are gonna listen to this, I'm gonna be like, did they really even just talk about anything?
Not really, no. So
you just gotta watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder if the fact that there's people who just hate it. I'm like, I wonder if they just don't quite get what kind of comedy it is. So and again, the fact that it was a play, that definitely helps because I could see that and be like, oh, okay, I could see why. Or the choices, the choices they made, why they made those choices. In performing it. So I'm like, okay, once I put into it with the mindset of it was a play first, like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I think you're right in that assessment. So.
Yeah.
But no, it gets 2 thumbs up for me. I'm with Siskel and Ebert on this, and it gets
same here.
2 big thumbs up for me. Like I said, it is available on DVD and Blu-ray. If you want to add it to your collection that way. Otherwise, it's not streaming anywhere, at least not for included in your paid, but it is available for rent and buy on the usual places, Apple TV, Amazon, Google Play, that sort of thing. So
but it's definitely worth owning in some way. So anyway, well, if any of our listeners have seen Oscar and want to chime in with their 2 cents, love it or hate it, I guess we'll read out your feedback if you hated it. And
it's our show though, so none of us are going in podcast jail. So
no, we are not.
And Rachel might use the hate ones for toasting marshmallows.
Yeah.
We could start a wall of shame.
Yeah.
No. But yes, so if you want to send in feedback, our email address is 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also go to our website, which is the5ishfangirls.com, and find links to all of our social media, links to our YouTube channel, where you can find the podcast. You can also find us on all your favorite podcasting channels. We're pretty much there. And if you want to support the show, you can support us through Patreon or through our Amazon store or our merchandise shop. Also, links to all that, like I said, is on our website. And again, we thank you for supporting us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sending in feedback, comments, all that great stuff. We love our listeners and hope you all are doing well and are enjoying your May.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say spring into summer, but there's some places where it's becoming winter, so
Yeah.
I don't know if we have any.
There's some
listeners in
places where
Australia.
winter hasn't left yet.
This is true. It rained. It rained here today, and I was gonna
Apparently there were
send-
parts of Ohio that got snow the other day. So
Ah,
I need a
Ohio.
frost warning
yeah.
for a day in a row. So
Yeah.
I was totally gonna send Alex to
60%
school in shorts, and then I looked out the window. I'm like, and it's long pants for you.
Yeah.
deceptively sunny, but
Yep. So wherever you are, hopefully you're staying comfortable
Yes.
with whatever weather Mother Nature has thrown at you. So all right. So with that, we shall sign off for this week.
Oh, this is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City. I forgot Brittany's not here.
this is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Poole was right. You are an ox and a moron.
You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. You can find more episodes and information at the5ishfangirls.com. Any and all books, movies, games, and any other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied. If you wish to support the show, the easiest way is to leave us a rating and review. More ratings and reviews will make it easier for others to find the show. If you wish to support us monetarily, you can do so at patreon.com/5ishfangirlspodcast. All money goes towards fees and equipment to keep the show going. For official Five-ish Fangirls merchandise, visit redbubble.com/people/5ishfangirls. We love hearing from our listeners and encourage feedback. You can email us at fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/5ishfangirls. Thank you so much for listening, and may the squee be with you.